Hello, and this is another walkthrough coaching session. I design these videos for my clients so that they can do homework in between sessions, so they can be in control of accelerating their public speaking development in between sessions in their own time. And so this is a little bit of a snapshot of what it would be like to do a real coaching session with me. What I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through some skills. I'm going to be doing some demonstrations, and I'm going to be prompting you to pause your video, have a go at the activity, and then look at my performance in comparison to yours to help you self-correct and improve your performance. A little bit of a snapshot of how we learn skills in public speaking. We pass through 3 distinct phases of skill acquisition when we learn the skill of public speaking. This comes from the Fitz and Posner model of skill acquisition. We start off with a learning phase. The technical terminology for this is cognitive phase, but learning phase is a more plain English way of understanding it. When we're new to a skill, what happens is that our performance isn't very high, and we quickly lose that skill or reverse that skill when we don't practice it. So our performance is very inconsistent. It's not very good. And if we don't practice very often, it gets worse very quickly. However, if we learn a skill very quickly and then we get into the self-correction phase, we are at a stage where we have a sense of what the correct way of doing the skill is and what the incorrect way of doing the skill is. And when we perform and we look at our performance, either with feedback from a coach or from a recording, we start to be able to go, oh, I could have done this better, or I forgot to do this and I need to include it next time. That's called self-correction. And so if you can self-correct your performance faster and faster and more accurately, not only will your abilities, your performance go up over time, but also your rate of reversing those skills will be less severe over time. So you could go a day, a week, or a month without doing the skill, and you won't be as bad as if you were someone who was brand new to the skill. If you continue to self-correct correctly, you'll wake up one day in the effortless phase. This is a wonderful place to be. It's where the skill comes automatically to you. It's weird not to do it correctly. You can do it under pressure, and you could also not do it for, say, 10 years, and when you try again, you'll still be just as good as you were. For example, learning to hold a pen correctly. You can do this without thinking about it because you've done it so many times and it's become effortless and automatic. Public speaking habits form in a similar way. And the good news is that you can learn these skills in 4 one-hour sessions, either an hour every day for 4 hours or once a week, for an hour for 4 weeks. It only takes about 4 hours to learn a public speaking skill. So it's really quick. This session in particular is for people who have already started to learn or have mastered a few skills, because we're going to be combining 3 skills simultaneously. This is quite an advanced class today, but if it's your first go, have a go at it. And if you find you're getting stuck, then you could go to another walkthrough video that I have to break these skills up into more manageable bits before you come back to this video. And so we're going to be combining 3 skills. One of them is called repeat and count. Another one is called sound change. And the third technique is called say what you see. Let's go through what these skills are very quickly in a bit more detail. So repeat and count is a way of structuring your thoughts without any prior preparation. When you get a question, you repeat some or all of the words in that question. And then before you give an answer, you declare how you're going to break up your answer into more manageable bits. That's called counting. So repeating is using the words you were given as your opening sentence. It's about measuring up the question. And counting is about breaking your answer up into countable parts or more manageable parts. Sound change is a technique used for grabbing attention and to make sure that what you say and how you say it are in agreement with each other. It's good for alerting the audience, making messages more impactful, and it's about changing your voice. If we put the intensity of our voice on a spectrum from 1 to 5, 3 is in the middle, it's neutral and conversational. It's how I start right now. 2 would be less intense. It might sound slower, more serious, more cold, more thoughtful. We know what a 2 sounds like because it's different to a 3, which is more normal and conversational and matter of fact. And if we go up the intensity, we become more animated or maybe more frustrated. And we talk a bit more fast, a bit more loud, a bit more animated, a bit more bubbly. And it's more intense than a 3. And if we continue to go to the extremes, by definition of 5 would be extreme. It's like Robin Williams being very animated, very elated, very fast, very loud, to the point that it would be uncomfortable or not appropriate in a professional meeting setting. That's how you know you've hit a 5. It's kind of like in that famous speech, "You can't handle the truth." You know, it's quite intense. And then you go all the way down to a 1. And that would be theatrically slow, to the point that it would be very serious and very uncomfortable and very patient. And that's an example of a 1. The idea is that when we change our delivery intensity, we're trying to match what we're saying to how we ought to say it. But we're also, by changing the number, we know that when we change the sound, the ears become alerted to the change in sound. And it's a way of controlling our engagement with the audience. If we speak at one number for too long, we're at risk of being monotone, and we could be saying really important things, but we'll either be mismatching or not getting the attention of the audience. So that's the sound change technique. It's the second technique we'll be looking at today. The third one is say what you see, which is to speak with visually descriptive words instead of abstract words as much as possible. This is all about detail management. It's the stuff of storytelling. If I were to visually describe this house, instead of saying something like, "It's a bad house, it's broken, I don't like it," if I were to say those 3 words, you wouldn't see this house in your head if I was explaining it to you and you couldn't see the image. But if I had to explain what this image looked like and you couldn't look at it, I'd say something like, "I want to talk to you about a 3-story house. It has red bricks. The red bricks are old and rusty and moldy, very dark red color. The roof is a pale grayish green with holes in it, with mold on it. It hasn't been washed or cared for in centuries. The windows are removed, slanted. The supporting structures for the windows are broken in some places, and they're mostly boarded up with light brown timber plywood. A grey chain link fence circles the house. It's been abandoned and locked away." And so if I were to describe the house in those visually descriptive words, even if you didn't have the image, a similar image would generate in your mind. This is important for not only engagement, but also it creates the stuff of communication. We know that if we're educating people, abstract and technical concepts must first pass through a visual medium, and this is a reminder to do that with Say What You See. Secondly, we know that if I say something to you and you can imagine it, then you are in a way saying something back. And that's the stuff of communication. It's not just me talking to you and you going blank. It's me talking to you and you saying something back. You're laughing, you're imagining, you're taking notes. We're trying to create that exchange. And so what we're going to do today is a very advanced application of all 3 of these techniques at once. So I've got a list of 100 questions here. When you have this diagram, when I send you this recording, you'll be able to look at the slides. And we're going to start doing some exercises today by answering all the questions that we can that end in 2, using repeat count, sound change, and Say What You See simultaneously. So I'm about to read out question 2 and answer it using all 3 of those techniques. Now is your opportunity to pause the video and have a go yourself, and then compare your response to mine and use that as your ability to self-correct and get better at these 3 techniques to make you a better public speaker under pressure without any prior preparation. So here we go. Question 2. If someone asked me, would you invest in a theme park? Let's use repeat and count and all those techniques right now. I would say, to clarify, do you want me to invest in an established theme park, or am I investing in a new theme park from scratch with, say, some friends? And say they asked me to invest in one from scratch. I would say, okay, there are 2 things that we need to look at when investing in a theme park from scratch. One is the viability, financial viability of that theme park. And the second thing is the team, the people who'll be involved. Let's look at the financial viability. Theme parks in this day and age are very risky things. Theme parks can be dangerous. They have a lot of engineering regulations, safety regulations, Imagine a roller coaster where it spirals and spirals and spirals. And if it's not banked or built correctly, people could go flying off and could be at serious risk of injury or death. On the other hand, there are a lot of things which can produce a lot of money in a theme park without the negative externalities and safety consequences. Imagine a shooting range game where instead of actual bullets, it's simply just air. And if you can aim a puff of air correctly at a target like a ping pong ball or a duck, no one's at risk of losing an eye or a life. And it's just all fun, and you can win a stuffed animal for your partner or your child. That is maybe where the money is, the fun and enjoyment without the downsides of safety and a large engineering investment. On the other hand, no theme park can succeed without a good team. In order to have a theme park, you need someone who's very good at marketing and selling tickets, someone who is good at arranging all the people and attractions, the food carts, the rides, the ticket sellers, everything all together in one place. And you also need someone who has that legal compliance to make sure you have permission to use the parks, from the local council, that you need to put your theme park up and all that sort of stuff. And so if I don't have a good team, then I don't want to invest in a theme park. All right, so compare your reaction to say how I answered that question. And what can we pick apart from that? So we saw the repeat count. I did a clarify in two technique where I asked, is it established or is it one from scratch? And then I did a count, which was like, I need two things. I need, on one hand, other hand, I need fun and I need a team. And then in terms of my sound change, I maybe could have improved on this, but my first one, I tried to go slow at a 2, thinking about the serious and the compliance. And the second one, I tried to be a bit more energetic. It was maybe a 3.5. I could have maybe been more animated about it. And so that's a sound change. And the next thing was say what you see. So in this instance, I was deliberately trying to do a fairly tame version of say what you see. Instead of making it super visually descriptive, I was just doing it with little sprinkles of visually descriptive stuff. So you may have remembered me explaining what the roller coaster looked like, the people flying off of it, what a shooting range that's safe might look like, winning a teddy bear, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so I used a number of these visually descriptive say what you see images to try and keep it engaging and interesting, coupling it with sound change and repeat and count. If we go now to question 12, I'm going to try to dial up the visually descriptiveness of it. I'm trying to be even more visually descriptive on this question. Have a go, pause the video, and compare your attempt at question 12 to my attempt at question 12. So say the question is, what's your ideal way to spend a rainy day? I would say, I'm going to tell you about the best way I like to enjoy a rainy day. And there are two things I like to do. I like to find a really good meal, and I like to find something to do. And so here's the idea of me trying to find a meal. What you don't want to do is go where there's outdoor seating, because if it's raining and it's windy, you're going to be ordering a sandwich, and it's going to be more of a soup. Your sandwich, instead of being dry and crusty and buttery and delicious, is going to be swimming in all the wind and the rain. You don't want that. Instead, you want to go someplace cozy with underground car parking. I like to think of the Sterling Hotel up in the hills. Has underground parking. You never have to get wet. You go into this beautiful renovated but village sort of hotel. There's a fireplace. There's lots of comfy couches and seating, and it's very cozy and toasty inside. And all your food can be dry and delicious while you're watching it bucket down with rain in the hills outside. The trees will be blowing in the wind and the rain will be coming down. You won't be able to see 3 inches in front of you, but you're inside and cozy and safe when outside is awful and windy and rainy. Then what I like to do is find something to do. So you go to lunch, you stay there as long as you need until the weather has a bit of opportunity for you. Maybe the wind dies down a little bit. Maybe the rain stops for an hour or so. And there's lots of things to do from there. I like, if I can, to try and play golf. Usually on a rainy day, you have the whole golf course to yourself. Imagine that. Acres and acres of greenery, trees, nature, an entire golf course to practice and play all by yourself. And if the wind can stay away and the rain can stay away, then I can enjoy myself. But if it were to switch back on again, it gets windy and rainy, Then I would have things like an umbrella that can't unbuckle itself. It'd be like a nice, strong domed umbrella. And I would have a cover for my golfing equipment so it doesn't get rainy. It'd be like a big plastic cover so I can see all my clubs and all my stuff, but it protects it from the rain. And I would have a golf-specific rain jacket, something that's completely zipped up, a hoodie, cuffs that can be sealed over. And this will mean that none of the water gets into that coat and I can stay relatively dry. And that's what I like to do on a rainy day. Cool. So compare your answer to mine. If on self-reflection, this is how I would think about correcting myself. I did repeat and count. I did the sentence way of repeating, which is I said the sentence back not as a question, but as a confidence statement. In the count phase, I did another two-part answer. So I said, I need these two things to do on a rainy day. It's like eating and doing, basically. In terms of the sound change, I think this is the biggest area for improvement for me. I think I did basically a 3 and a 4. It was quite a lazy sound change. I'll focus on that more in the next question. In terms of dialing up the intensity of say what you see, so it was more visually descriptive, I think this question that I answered was more visually descriptive, entertaining and interesting than the first answer. I really tried to have that image of the Sterling Hotel and the golf course in my head, and I tried to convey it so that you could see it too. So what I'm going to do now in question 22 is I'm going to try to keep that level of visually descriptive intensity, but I'm going to try to be much more deliberate now about my sound change. Instead of just try to do one number in the first half and another number in the second half, I'm going to try to really move my voice, make it congruent and extreme to what I'm talking about, all while doing repeat and count at the same time. So pause the video, have a go at maxing out all 3 of those skills at once on this question, and then compare your attempt with mine and self-correct and reflect, okay? I'm going to have a go at answering this question now, but you can pause the video and have your attempt, but here I go. Question 22. Would you rather live without the internet or without air conditioning? Live without. I'm going to tell you about what life would be like without the internet, and then I'm going to tell you what life would be like without air conditioning, and which one I'd rather have at the end of the day. So it makes me sad to imagine a world without the internet. When I wake up in the morning, my instinct will be to grab my phone and check the news and to learn all about what's happening, not only around me and my community, but also the most interesting things that are happening in the world. What new technologies are being created? What's happening in the most important decisions happening in government? You know, what movie is going to come out next? What opportunities for events and new products and things like that will be around? I would have absolutely no idea. And without the internet, I don't think I would ever have the opportunity to know all of those things. You'd spend your whole day trying to carry a pigeon messages around the world, getting news way too late and with nowhere near enough detail and opportunity to explore. That's no way to live. On the other hand, if I didn't have air conditioning, I think I could do something about that. If it was a really hot summer's day, I could just wear singlets and a shorts, and I could keep the fridge open and do some makeshift air conditioning. You know, buy a fan. I could open some doors. I could even get out of the house and go to a pool or something to try and offset the temperature as much as I could. And if it was really, really cold, I could simply just wear more clothing. Imagine that, just, you know, instead of a short, like a top and some pants, I could wear 2 tops and 2 pairs of pants, or 3 tops and 3 pairs of pants. There's got to be a number of clothes that I can wear until eventually the air conditioning problem just goes away. So if I had to pick between living without the internet, which makes me very sad to think about, or living without an air conditioning, which I have an easy solution for, I would definitely live in a world that has internet. Cool. All right, so I use repeat count. I use the word way to repeat. I simply said live without. And then I did another one hand, other hand form of count where I said, let's look at internet, let's look at air conditioning. And then my sound change, I think, was very good. I went low and high in both answers. And I tried to make that passionate, more extreme than the other examples, and also congruent, like matching what I was trying to say as much as possible. I think in the attempt of doing this, my biggest area of improvement would be the say what you see. I think I could have more vividly described what it would be like to not have the internet in a way that was more picturesque. And I think I could have also more, in a more vividly descriptive way, show what a house with or without internet, would look like. I simply said I would go to the pool instead of maybe painting that picture a bit more. So that's something I would work on in the next question. And for today's session, we're going to make this the last one, but you can keep doing all those questions if you want. So if I go to question 32, I'm going to try once again with all the feedback and stuff I've learned so far, and in quite an exhausted state, because I've done a few of these exercises today, is max out all three of those techniques with question 32. So here's your opportunity to pause the video, have a go yourself. And once you're ready, compare your answer to mine and self-correct. And this would be your last question for the day. So what does your dream kitchen have in it? Just to clarify, is this my dream kitchen if money didn't matter? Or is this my dream kitchen if I had all the money and I could just create some fantastical imaginary dream kitchen? And so say they want to know about the fantastical dream kitchen. I would say, well, there are three things that would go into my dream kitchen. The first thing is I want to talk about the problems that I currently experience in my kitchen. And then I want to tell you what options I think are available and what things that I would choose. Okay, so problems, options, and my choice. The problems. Where do I start? So if I look at my current kitchen, there are heaps and heaps of problems. First of all, it has tiled floors. Tiled floors have some advantages, but the biggest disadvantages is that they are very cold in winter. They become very, very slippery if oil or water spills on them. And thirdly, if you drop something, whether it's a plate or a cup, it shatters into a billion pieces, and it's almost impossible to vacuum up all those itty bitty little pieces to make sure that you'll never step on something sharp. And those are some big problems in my kitchen. I could go further. Disorganization and cleanliness are two big problems in my existing kitchen. Disorganization. There's so many unwashed dishes that stay on the counter and washed ones that go on the top counter that haven't been put away in the drawers. The cupboards are really difficult. They don't open all at once. They get blocked by other doors. There's a lot of corner cupboards that you have to reach and stretch your back in order to get access to. And there's no means of bringing the back to the front with a rotational system. And so because of that, all my bench space, which should be used for food prep, is instead cluttered with dirty and clean dishes where it's too much effort to put them away. Because of that, my kitchen's not functional. Instead of making food and enjoying it, it's easier just to get takeout. And so what are the options available to me? Well, the first thing would be changing the floors. So if I had to change the floors and money was no object whatsoever, there are so many things I could do. You could get wooden floors, but that's not big enough. What if instead of wooden floors, you could get those amazing gymnastic floors from like YMCAs where you can basically bounce on them? That would be so fun for me. It'd be so fun for my toddlers who love jumping around everywhere. And thirdly, if I dropped a cup or a dish, instead of it shattering, boing, it would basically bounce back to my hand. How convenient is that? Furthermore, if I made all the cupboards really smart, they had these elaborate rotational shelving systems, now there would be absolutely zero dishes that would be clean but staying on the top of my counter. It'd be so easy and fun to file them away. And then for the dirty dishes, I would want an enormous dishwasher with compartmentalized parts. So it's one big disher in case I have heaps of dishes to do, or I could just use a third of it if I just want to do a quick wash for a few dishes. That way there will be no reason to have dirty dishes on the sink. And so that's the kind of dream house I would have. I'd have fun and flexible floors. I would have a really powerful clean dish filing system, so it's easy and fun to put dishes away. And thirdly, I'd have a super powerful dishwasher that could take big loads, medium loads, or small loads. It's giving me all the bench space, making cooking fun again. Whew. All right, I'm exhausted. That's a lot of really intense activities, doing 3 techniques as hard as I can simultaneously. Compare your attempts to mine. I'm sure that you saw improvement. I'm sure you created the stimulus and the brain adaptation to improve and adapt between now and your next attempt at this. Go have a rest, go have a good night's sleep. Try this again tomorrow or within a week. And if you keep doing this for, say, every day for 4 days, you will be just as good as this, if not better at this than me. So I hope you enjoyed today's walkthrough. I look forward to seeing you in the next video.